The Senate failed to pass key voting rights legislation last night. It is a huge defeat for Democrats who tried changing Senate filibuster rules in order to get the measure passed. So we're going to head on over to Capitol Hill now, where CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane is standing by to tell us how it all went down last night. Scott, senators debated for hours into the night. It was almost a throwback, to the Senate of yesteryears. Can you just sort of break down what happened?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, it was a marathon set of speeches. There was the standoff and the stalemates we expected, but there was no surprise. This cake was baked weeks, if not months ago. The two pivotal Senate Democrats, Senator Sinema of Arizona, Senator Manchin of West Virginia, had been emphatic. They were not going to support a change to Senate rules, Senate procedures to make this end around to get the law passed. It was a wave of universal Republican opposition. Democrats would have had to do this rule change to get the voting rights law passed with just Democratic votes, and there was no indication as the day started yesterday anybody would move, and nobody moved. Voted down late last night. What's next? A lot of good questions about that. Senator Manchin said last night he'd be open to changing the Electoral College Count Act, the obscure law from the 1800s that governs how Congress counts the electoral vote here after a presidential election. That's what was disrupted January 6th by the Capitol attack. But the outlooks are unclear for that type of proposal. Democrats wanted much, much more, Anne-Marie.
So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. President Biden sort of changed his position on altering the filibuster rule. Some people were kind of like, that's too little too late at this point. But as you point out, the outcome of the vote was sort of not surprising at all. But I wonder if, just like when it comes to the president's Build Back Better plan, if Democrats are considering passing voting rights legislation sort of in a piecemeal manner, breaking it off into bite-sized chunks and seeing what they can get passed. Is that discussion coming up?
What to break up and what to do piecemeal is going to be the question that drives this day here, Anne-Marie. Can Build Back Better be bite-sized? Can they pass components of it, child care components, health care components separately, which individually may be more popular? Same is true for voting rights law. The Electoral College Count Act that I referenced has bipartisan support. Neither party wants to see a repeat of January 6, 2021 on January 6, 2025. Those things have broader support, might be able to pass with both parties. But there is no clearly defined road ahead on either of those planks. That's what we're going to be pressing congressional leaders for today. Where do you go? Which path do you take? Because both paths, Build Back Better and the voting rights law, have now officially hit a dead end.
Members of the Congressional Black Caucus, they marched across the Capitol leading up to yesterday's proceedings, supporting, of course, voting rights legislation. I'm wondering if you've heard any reaction from them. How are they feeling after the vote?
Yeah, I spoke with several members of the caucus just after they walked across this area over to the U.S. Senate side of the Capitol. One of the members, Congressman Hank Johnson, longtime member from Atlanta, told me that his former colleague, his former neighboring Congressman, John Lewis, for whom one of the two bills voted down last night was named, said voting rights struggles are lifetime struggles, and the caucus and the House Democrats expect this to be a fight they'll have to keep fighting year after year. These are fluid, Anne-Marie. These voting rights laws in states keep shifting. As the debate was happening here last night in Michigan, there's an ongoing petition drive led by state Republicans to get tougher voter ID laws on the books. If they collect 350,000 signatures in Michigan, Anne-Marie, it's likely the legislature will tighten voter ID before this year's elections. These are ongoing organic battles happening as we speak. And Congress is trying to find a way to keep its momentum, to keep its efforts to change voting rights law at the federal level as well.
Yeah, and of course, sort of hovering over all of this is the fact that we're in 2022, midterm election time. So as you point out, all sorts of regulations surrounding elections are being looked at. Of course, sort of voting rights laws, but also gerrymandering. We've got the results of the 2020 census. Just how much do you think the timing of this vote is connected to the midterm elections?
The timing of this vote was striking. They picked up this mantle and ran with it at a time when the president's popularity has dipped significantly and his political capital, his political elbow grease, has dipped significantly. Politically, not an opportune time for the Democrats to try to push through a party line vote. They don't have the political muscle they may have had previously or may have in the future. The timing, though, is critical, Anne-Marie. Yes, we're on the eve of the 2022 midterm elections where there's a large-scale expectation Republicans will likely flip the U.S. House and take control. We're also, though, on the eve of primary season. That comes up in the coming weeks or months in many states, and both parties are trying to outflank competition inside their own parties.
That is such a good thing to point out. You know, increasingly there are districts, particularly because of gerrymandering, that, you know, it's a foregone conclusion whether a Republican or a Democrat is going to win. And so the primary election is really the key election, right? Once you can get past the primary, chances are you're going to win the election. So, of course, it makes sense that a primary season takes on greater significance. Scott, thank you so much.